Hey everybody, it's Paul Ramsey. Glad to have you here. And tonight I'm really excited to be joined by my buddy Zach Pincince, who is just killing it in the world of social media branding relative to hypnotism. We're gonna have an extended conversation tonight. Zach has been kind enough to give us more than our typical 30-minute conversation. We're gonna talk about a lot of cool stuff. And I just want to give you a little background on Zach, because there's probably a lot of you in our hypnotism community who have not heard of him yet, perhaps. And that's because Zach trained less than 2 years ago. He did stage training with me. He did NGH consulting hypnotist certification with Sandra and myself. And he's clocking in at less than 2 years. He started learning on his own before that, and was doing some practicing and getting ready. But when he knew that he really wanted to step up, he did his both certifications, stage and consulting, in about 4 months, and and then went right from there, graduated from college, and just jumped in. I'm so proud of him, and you are going to love listening to him talk about what he's been doing. So just to paint you a quick picture, Zach got his certifications, graduated from college, went full-time into building his hypnotism practice. And again, when you look at from when he finished his certification, his NGH cert was in May of 2018. So in about a year and a half, he's gone from just getting certified to he now has an agent, and he's touring and doing college shows all around the United States. He moved from New Hampshire, where he grew up. He moved from New Hampshire to LA. And again, he just keeps taking on bigger and bigger challenges. He's now super positioned in LA and creating killer content with all kinds of YouTube collaborators, TikTok collaborators, and he's seeing clients out there as well. So he's working both aspects of his business. And what he's been doing with his social media branding is absolutely phenomenal. Let's see, Zach, what's the timeline? First of all, Zach, say hi.
Hi. Yeah, I'm here. Not just Paul sharing my story the whole time. You sit here as you talk for me right now.
I mean,
thank you for the introduction. That's great.
You're welcome. You started, I remember when you finished your stage training really at the end of April, because then you did your NGH cert with us in May that year.
Yep.
I said, all right. You were like, what's next? Because you were just constantly, you're like, what's next? What's next? And you were like, what's next? And I was like, all right, you're going to start busking. You're going to start street performing. And that was at the end of April. And you started going out on a regular basis, which, as far as I know, have you ever taken a week off since then from performing in public and creating content?
No, I mean, when I was still in New Hampshire last winter, there are limited months where you can be out in public busking and on the streets or in the park or in the beach or whatever it is.
Right.
I've been much more frequently performing out here in California, where it's still 60 degrees here in December. But yeah, it tended to be a little seasonal, still being in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
To your point, yes, I was pretty doing it at least once a week for months.
Right.
On end. Yeah.
And so in that, I know you track your engagement and followership numbers and stuff, but like, how many YouTube videos ballpark have you put up over the past year and a half?
About 120.
About 120. Then
120
you've got your Instagram videos, which some of them you're repurposing on Instagram as well, and some of them you're repurposing on TikTok. But then you're creating original content on those other platforms as well. So you've got a lot of good stuff going on there. But I mean, folks, you got to think about, in a year and a half, Zach's now at 1.7 million followers on TikTok, which is the hottest social media app going right now. And we're going to talk more about that in detail. And now you just broke 100,000 subscribers on YouTube as well, right?
Yeah, just hit it this past weekend, already at 107.
So. Is it 107? When I wrote the thing last night, it was at 103. The scale is unbelievable what happens when you start getting to those numbers.
Making it happen.
So, all right. So let's talk about
hypnosis.
First, let's talk about your a lot of people aren't familiar with TikTok. So let's start with that and explain like for people who may still not be familiar, which I think there are a lot of people that still aren't familiar with TikTok, give us an overview of TikTok and how you got started on TikTok.
Yeah, so TikTok, for those of you that don't know, is sort of like a short form video sharing platform, sort of like a mini YouTube, if you will. All the videos on the platform are under 60 seconds. Most videos tend to be within the 15, 20-second range. So it's a lot of just really very short form content. And TikTok this year has literally been the most downloaded app. It's had more downloads than Facebook, Instagram, even other platforms. Now, granted, a lot of people like already have Facebook, Instagram downloaded because they've been using it. But as far as new downloads, TikTok has been the most downloaded app. And it's already passed over 1 billion monthly users, which I think only Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and WhatsApp, I think, might only be the only ones with that many users. And so TikTok is just blowing up. But the thing that distinguishes TikTok from the rest of the other social media platforms is the capacity to be able to get your content seen is completely based and predicated on the algorithm of good content being picked up and watched more versus your content being seen by the number of followers you have. So for example, if I were to post a video on YouTube and I have 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, then probably will get, maybe an average of 10 to 15,000 people will see it. Granted, it doesn't go viral if it just goes to most of my followers, unless it's a really good piece of content and YouTube decides to promote it, it'll probably stay within that range. On TikTok, I could have 10 followers or I could have 10 million followers. And if I put a really good piece of content, it will blow up and it will get seen. Versus on YouTube, if you have 10 followers, it's really tough to get your stuff seen by more people than those following you. Versus TikTok, the way the algorithm's set up is good pieces of content will get seen. They just start sharing your content with strangers or people that haven't seen it. And if people engage with it, if they like it, if they share it, if they watch it all the way, TikTok will just start to show it to more and more people. And they just continue to escalate it to showing it to more people until people stop caring and watching it. So it has the ability for anybody to go viral and get seen. So what I did with using the app is I joined TikTok about 3.5 months ago. Joined literally like the last day of August, end of August, and started just making content, not even making any new content or creating anything original, just repurposing what was already on my YouTube, on my Instagram, on other platforms.
Right.
Creating it for that specific platform. So editing it in a vertical format, sometimes adding some music or text elements or whatever it might be, and just putting it on the platform. And had a video that did really well. So the first video to go viral on there got like 1.5 million views in the first day. And it was a video that was already on YouTube that had maybe like 5,000 views on YouTube, but got up to 1.5 million on TikTok in one day. Now it's at over 5 million views, simply because of being in a place where the algorithm could pick it up better. More people could see it. More people started following me, and just continue to upload and repurpose and put out more content. A lot of times it's stuff that's already on YouTube and other platforms, but it's getting viewed more because the algorithm on TikTok enables good content to get seen. Because my priority has always been on being able to put out good content. Once I actually was able to get it on an app where people can now see it, that's when it started really taking off.
Right. So I think I just want to revisit. So one of the things that's key, you guys, folks, when you watch and think about this, what Zach pointed out that's really important is one of the things that makes TikTok different is the algorithm they've built is almost like it's like a meritocracy algorithm, right? Like, so it's basically giving you a point for every person that likes your video, then it's giving you a point for every person that comments on your video, and it's giving you a point for like every person that shares your video. So there's this cumulative effect of the more reaction, not just a like, which is what we're sort of used to, is just thumbing up a video on YouTube or on Facebook, right? But the more ways in which people show that they really appreciate your content, the more you get rewarded. And so what Zach has done really, really well, what Zach's done better than anything is as he already told you, he cares about producing good content on the regular. So by him continuing to produce good content, people get familiar with him, they see his stuff over and over again, and they're building a relationship with him, and they're rewarding by their liking it, they're commenting on it, they're sharing on it. And so his stuff is just blowing up. Now, Zach, I don't know if you know this, and I can't prove it, but don't you think there's also some special thing they do when you post your first video? Because when I put my first video up, my first video got it got like 50,000 views in the first 24 hours. And I've never had a video go anywhere near that since. And your first video went crazy hype, went over 1 million, right? And
Well, that wasn't my first
other
video.
stuff that's done well, but like not consistently at that level, right?
Well, so the video that really blew up for me was probably like my maybe 7th or 8th, 10th video, something along those lines.
Oh, okay.
Video. And the very first video I put up was literally just me messing around like, oh, is this really like posted first TikTok video? Am I doing this TikTok thing right? And just like a goofy, silly video that got like 4 views. So no, the first video didn't really do well. With your content, I mean, you had a great video that you put up to start with. It was a girl reacting to thinking that you're Beyonce, and the fact that she's literally crying because she thinks she met Beyonce. That's a very engaging component. People are like, well, wait, what's going on? And they want to watch the video and see what happens. And really the number one thing that gets content seen is the amount of watch time that content has. People watch your video all the way through, and even if they enjoy it so much they watch it again, that's even bigger than liking, sharing, commenting, because that's pure engagement through the entirety of the piece of content. So because your piece of content you put out first for your first video was really good, that's why it got views. Again, it's just completely based on how well people are engaging with the content. So whether it's your first video, your 10th video, if you have good content, you can put it out and start blowing up now. Or what most people tend to do is they start figuring it out. Even for me, as I started to play with a few different things, finally figuring out what worked and what got people to watch the whole video or to rewatch it or to share it or whatever it is, and starting to create that trajectory and that momentum. But really, it's just good content gets seen in the app, and that's what it's about.
Now, I want to segue from what you just, or from an aspect of what you just said, over to the other part of this, which you've done really well, is YouTube. So not only have you produced consistently good content on these platforms, but the other part that I think a lot of people don't see is you've invested a lot of time and energy in learning, in really learning how to do that. Like you go out to, well, now you're living in LA, but before you had moved out there, you were going out there and going to like YouTube symposiums and learning from YouTube themselves and collaborate and like networking with influencers. And you did that multiple times, right?
Yeah, I just had one YouTube event that I went to.
Okay.
There's other personal development events and lots of networking for sure. And just doing my own research and learning on my own, right? We're in an information age where anything that you want to learn is available at your fingertips. Just type into Google or literally even into YouTube. That's kind of meta, but put into YouTube, how to grow on YouTube, right? There'll be plenty of videos that will pop up. How to grow on TikTok and Instagram. It's all there, but it's making the decision and the commitment to saying, I want to learn and I want to accelerate my growth instead of just figuring it out as I go. Experience is the best teacher, and that is the best way to learn, is to figure out what you're doing. But if you can sort of skip through some of those initial mistakes that a lot of people tend to make by having somewhat of an idea of what you should do, whether it's through an event or an online video or article or whatever it is, just having a rough idea of how to start a little bit faster and go quicker.
Now, here's the other thing I want to ask you about. When you started TikTok, do you remember where your YouTube subscriber numbers were at then?
Yeah, when I started, I want to say I was close to 35,000, 40,000 subscribers around.
Right, because I think the other thing that I want to talk about that you were so great at is you were really smart in how you leveraged the explosive attention going to TikTok to drive people to your YouTube. So you were somewhere around, let's say 30, 35,000 when you started on TikTok. And then when you blew up on TikTok, you didn't just sit there and go, hooray, I'm awesome on TikTok. You used active tactics to move people from TikTok to YouTube. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, you make it sound a lot more militant than it is, right?
No, it's smart.
Right? Following charge to YouTube. Right? Literally in the TikTok app, there's a button that you can go right to somebody's YouTube channel if they have one from their TikTok page. So TikTok does help in that way. It says link right to my Instagram or YouTube from TikTok. But to your point, one of the things that I'd often do is when I'd film a video, I would put the full like 5, 10, 15-minute video on YouTube, and I'd take some of the highlights from that video. So like the best 60-second clip, the best 30-second clip, and put that on TikTok. And then what I do is I put in the comments, I say, check out the full video on YouTube to see more. And if people like the comment, they'd go over to YouTube and they'd watch the full video. And so it's repurposing. It's one piece of content, but then just taking different clips or part of that piece of content to make more content. We're just filming one video, or if, as I do a show, just doing one show and having someone film it for me, or if I'm doing street hypnosis, having somebody film that one interaction. But that one interaction creates a long form piece of content for YouTube. It creates a 60-second clip for Instagram. It creates a 20-second clip for TikTok, or multiple 20-second clips, or whatever it is. So I end up getting half a dozen pieces of content out of one engagement or one performance or one interaction, simply by repurposing content and putting it in a way that is as tactical and smart as possible to that specific platform.
Smart. And for people who aren't like really into the videos, this video stuff, go back and really listen to what Zach just said again, because that's the kind of stuff that a lot of times people are charging money even just to tell you what Zach just told you for free. Like understanding how to make more efficient use of your time by producing a single piece of content that you then chop up very purposefully and distribute to different platforms at different length intervals, because it's what fits those platforms. That's where we go beyond strategy. I want to use social media to grow my business, to tactical deployment. And that's what a lot of people in the small business world are missing. Is people say, they say strategy, and they never talk about tactics. Strategies are helpful and they're important, but if you can't drill down beyond, I'm going to have a social media strategy to grow my business, to, but what are the actual tactics for how I use it? That's where a lot of you are missing it. That's where a lot of people are missing out on this. And Zach's got that, and he's doing it well. So Zach, talk to us about what your sort of vision is for where, you get to what are you, 1.7 million on TikTok? What's your goal, or what's your medium to long-term vision with your use of TikTok? Is it just to keep driving people to YouTube? I'm sure it's more than that.
Well, I mean, TikTok is continuing to grow up and grow up. Like
that's a fair phrase.
Continuing to blow up and grow exponentially, even in the remainder of 2019, heading into 2020. Even for me, as I went on tour this fall, I got on TikTok beginning of the fall. And so I would ask people like, how many of you are on TikTok? How many of you use it? And most people like, what TikTok? Now, the last few shows I did at the end of the fall, you were at the show I did in New Hampshire last month, where I was like, who's on TikTok? Everyone's like, whoa, TikTok. And people are, you're TikTok famous. Like, they know who I am.
Yeah.
It's actually kind of neat where, when most of my shows, I'm just like the hypnotist. They don't know you're just a hypnotist, but now I'm that hypnotist. I'm the hypnotist that they saw on their TikTok page or on the internet, or the person in that viral YouTube video or TikTok video. So they know not just me as a hypnotist, but me who I am, which is pretty cool. But I say that because people, like, even going from just a few months, not many people at my shows were on TikTok, to now most of them are. So even just in that short amount of span, continuing to grow. But heading into 2020, I think we're going to see TikTok continue to explode and grow even more. And whether or not it's a fad and it fizzles out, or whether it literally is the next big thing and replaces Facebook and Instagram and becomes the next social media mogul and giant, either way, it's where the attention's at now. It's where people are now. So, there's a saying, you got to strike while the iron's hot. This is the hottest iron on the internet right now. So if it goes away in 6 months and it's gone, you still take advantage of the next 6 months to where everybody is right now. And you use funnels to get them to Instagram or YouTube or Facebook or the other places that are a little bit more sturdy and aren't going anywhere. But whether or not it goes away, doesn't matter, right? A lot of people like, oh, Facebook, TikTok's just for young kids right now. And that's what they all said about Facebook at the beginning. It was just for college students. Like, no business people should ever be on Facebook.
Right.
Now, is that all the older business people are on Facebook, and now this new platform's coming out like TikTok. People are like, oh, it's just for kids, right? But I think very quickly we're going to see this continuing to grow to the point that more and more brands and businesses and celebrities are now on TikTok to the point that, next year is going to be a huge year for it. And whether it dies and goes away and is just another fad, or whether it blows up, either way, there's an extreme amount of value in becoming an early adapter by getting in while the attention's still there, while the iron's still hot. And that's where the growth is now. The algorithm, like we talked about, is unlike any other social media platform out there.
Right.
You need any following to get thousands, if not millions of views if you have a good piece of content. So get on the app or you'll regret and wish you could have taken that advice next year when it's too late.
So Zach, let's shift. We're going to stay with what you just said, but I want to pivot in a way that will benefit people who are non-stage hypnotist people, because I can sense right now, as you're saying that, there's going to be people in the audience watching this video who are like, well, that's easy for you to say, Mr. Young guy in his mid-20s who does stage hypnotism, but I do this and it's not the same. And you and I both know that's not true, but that's what people think over and over again. If you were, and you don't only do stage hypnotism, so we're not going to let people just put your stage hypnotist hat on you. Thinking, though, taking your stage hypnotist hat off and really setting it aside, talk to us about how you view this platform and other platforms like it. Like, how do you look at video content production as a way of helping you reach more people and touch more people's lives as a consulting hypnotist?
So you have to think about what your niche is. Like, what value are you bringing people through your content? So if I have my stage hypnosis hat on, my niche is I create entertaining content. I create cool hypnosis videos where people see these fun, interacting, cool performances. But if I didn't do any stage hypnosis and I did only consulting and clinical work, what might my niche be? Maybe I want to help people to overcome anxiety or depression. Maybe I want to help people to eliminate their fears. Maybe I want to help people be more confident, quit smoking, lose weight, whatever my specific niche is. Or maybe I just want to help people learn self-hypnosis and understand the power of their own mind and their thoughts, whatever it is. Thinking about my niche and how am I delivering and giving people value within that niche. So many people tend to put out content. Oh, hi, this is so-and-so. I'm going to talk about the boring, skip, scroll to the next video, right? People don't care. But when you can create it in a way that actually brings them values of like, hey, here are 5 tips to help eliminate your anxiety. Or, hey, here are some cool ways that I've learned recently that your thoughts can actually control your mind. Or here are some ways where you're hypnotizing yourself and you don't realize it. Whatever it is, create content that provides value for people, because that's what they're going to want to watch. That's what they're going to want to engage with. I mean, to be blunt, people don't care about you. They don't care about me. They care about what we bring to them, right? When we watch content online, whether it's a funny cat video on the internet or whether it's a cool celebrity video, whatever it is, we don't necessarily care about the person. We care about the piece of content that we're watching. It doesn't matter who uploaded it or who posted it. But we're like, oh, this is a good piece of content. And then we're like, hey, who posted this? Who put this up there? This was pretty good. I want to see more stuff like it. And that's when we subscribe. That's when we follow. That's when we actually start investing our time to pay attention to the person, is because we found the piece of value that they provided us first. So whether you do stage hypnosis is irrelevant. There's so many people out there, other hypnotists I know of, right? I was talked about before we started this chat that a friend of mine is out here in LA that she doesn't do any stage hypnosis, but she does only client work. And she's just put little videos on TikTok of like, hey, what would it be like to eliminate your anxiety with hypnosis? Or what would it be like to no longer have the stress in your life? Just putting like 5-10 second clips of her hypnotizing somebody. Not even any form of the actual hypnosis, just like when she says, close your eyes and sleep, and their head goes down, like that looks kind of cool. And then there's some like cool music and that's it. There's not a lot of meat to the content, but it's just enough of an intrigue of people like, oh, that's interesting. That's pretty cool. And the caption says, hey, what if I could help you do this? Hey, that sounds pretty neat. And this friend of mine's already made multiple clients. She's made several $1,000s already through clients she's gotten directly off of TikTok, just putting videos on there that provided people value. They solved the problem of helping people to overcome their anxiety or their stress, whatever it is. For me as a stage hypnotist or entertainer, my problem I'm solving is giving people a laugh, right? Or entertaining them or whatever it is. But as a clinical or consulting hypnotist, if the problem you're solving is the niche that you're in, whether it's weight loss or smoking or anxiety or anything, how are you helping people to solve that problem? How are you providing them value? How are they getting something that serves them out of your content to the point that says, I want more from this person, whether it's more content, whether it's more videos, whether it's a session, whatever it is. Look, as a consulting hypnotist, I do zero lead gen work at all. I don't actively look to get clients. I don't advertise that I take clients. Nothing on my website or social media says, hire me, book me for a session. It's not out there at all. But because I've put my brand out there to the point as a stage hypnotist, I get a lot of emails or DMs on social media that says, hey, could you please work with me for this? Or could we do a session for this? And I get leads completely organic, even though that's not even my niche, because I'm providing people value. So provide people, especially if you are tactical and do it, right? If I decided, hey, I want to get more sessions and started producing content that were made with the intention of getting sessions and clients, I could blow up and get even more. That's not my goal right now because I'm focused more on the entertaining side to build a bigger entertainment brand. If it's about making money, I might have a different approach. But for me, my approach has been more on the actual brand of what I'm doing. But pick your niche, provide value to people, and solve the problem. Because at the end of the day, when you solve somebody else's problem, everybody wins.
Yes. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Hey, I want to hear you talk some more about this idea of I can't even think of the word. The word I was. So the collaboration, that's the word I was trying to think of. Like one of the next level things that you've done, right? So you started with consistently producing content that was interesting and consistently good quality, right? And then you extended that to multiple platforms, right? You did the same thing, but you extended over multiple platforms. And then as you started to really get more attention, then you started adding this element of collaboration. And that's another thing that I think a lot of people in our profession aren't really sure of how to do or when to do it and that kind of thing. So, and especially lately when you went so big on TikTok, it really opened doors for you. But you were doing collaboration even before you were really big on TikTok. So talk to us a little bit about how collaboration with other content providers can assist you in growing your brand through social media.
So going back to the point I just closed with on the previous point, when you solve a problem, everybody wins. And if you have somebody that you're looking to collab with, that they're wanting to grow their brand on social media, and you're wanting to grow your brand, and hey, if you combine your audiences together, you both can reach more people than you either could have alone. So in and of itself, you therefore solve a problem for each other. So if you work with somebody else to make content, whether it's getting on somebody's podcast, whether it's recording a video with another creator, whether it's even just doing what we're doing now is two hypnotists recording a single piece of content together that can be shared on multiple platforms, more people will see it and more people can benefit from it. And so when you think about collabing, thinking about one, who has platforms that it would be valuable for you to get on, but who could you provide value to by being on their platform, right? Most people, when they start out, are like, oh, I'd love to get on, these giant podcasts or giant channel creators or these big platforms with millions of followers, but that's not necessarily going to happen right away unless the value that you provide is really, really good, that it would benefit them to have you on. But initially, it's just going to be a matter of like, who are people that are sort of in your, I want to say level or tier of where you're at now, of like, if you're within, the 100 to 1,000 subscribers range, who's another creator with a similar amount of subscribers, that being able to be on each other's channel will both benefit each other to be able to grow, right? If you reach out to someone with 100,000 subscribers and you have 10, it's like you're not really going to be able to provide them much value by them being on your channel with 10 followers when they already have 100,000. So think about people who you can provide value to through being able to bring your audience to them where they're at. And as you grow and build that audience, you'll grow that tier and it becomes exponential. And what happened for me, because again, I was so focused on providing just such good content, I had people that started reaching out to me saying, hey, like, could you hypnotize us for our YouTube channel or for our Instagram or for some videos for my TikTok or whatever it is. And then the more collabs that I got with them, the more, I would meet their friends or make some of their connections and just continue to get more and more collabs. But similar to with my clients, most of my collabs haven't been like me looking and trying to find them. I've been so focused on the content that I can create and doing and growing my brand well that people started noticing and started reaching out to me to the point that I don't really have to do that much work anymore. Sometimes the follow-up of like, yeah, where do we do this? When do we schedule it? How do we make it happen? But people are noticing me and reaching out to me to want to make content with me because I'm focused on producing good content,
right?
Value, even if the value is just entertainment. As a clinical consulting hypnotist, again, the value will look different than a stage hypnotist, but it's still value that you can provide people nonetheless. So how can you provide people value to the point that you become so good that they can't ignore you, right?
Right.
Can you be that valuable? And even if you collab with people with smaller platforms at first, it all builds on each other. Maybe someone from their following wants to connect with you now and just continues to grow. But you got to start somewhere. You don't have to be huge to start, but you have to start in order to get huge,
Yes. But listen, that's great. And here's the other thing that I want you to talk about this, and it may feel a little weird, but I think it's so important. Again, I'm going to sort of like hype you a little bit here. I am so proud of what you've done that many people don't do. Is you have consistently worked at this. You've been working and working and working, and you were smart enough to see that you were doing well, but that you could get to a whole other level if you took a whole other level of action. And people who are watching this, again, I know Zach because I trained him. You got to understand, Zach's just a New Hampshire kid, right? He grew up, he was homeschooled. He only lived in New Hampshire his whole life. His family didn't move around or anything. And for Zach, I mean, really think about what he did. He got to this point where he moved to LA. He recognized that there's a hotbed of content production happening in LA. And there are certainly lots of people all over the country and all over the world producing cool video content on the internet. But Zach really stepped up and moved all the way across country in like a week's time. He can tell you like his time scale was pretty crazy. He like signed a lease and then moved within a week or something like that. But so Zach, talk about why that was important to you and what you've learned already from doing that, will you?
From making the move to LA?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well, like you talked about, that's where people are at and where a lot of creators are at, and just being able to open up more opportunities by being in proximity, right? If you're familiar with Tony Robbins' world, it says proximity is power. And so the more proximity you are into the collabs you want to create, the people you want to connect with, the type of content you want to make, the better proximity you have, the easier it's going to be for you able to do it. And as consulting hypnotists or clinical hypnotists, we know that, right? If we help someone to quit smoking, and proximity is a big deal. If people always have their cigarettes on them and they're in proximity to their cigarettes, they're much more likely to want to smoke them. Versus saying, don't buy them, don't bring them with you, like don't put them in the house, right? Don't go to a bar if you're an alcoholic, whatever it is, thinking about the proximity to the lifestyle or the change you're trying to create. So for me, with the lifestyle and the change being content creation and continuing to grow as an entertainer, knowing the best proximity for me was in LA. Either LA or New York, one of the two, but for me, I chose LA because I like the weather a lot better. And I like even just between LA and New York, I did enjoy the environment and culture of California versus New York better. But yeah, thinking about that proximity. And even when I got started, I was fine starting up because again, the proximity of the people that I was collabing with at the beginning wasn't super big creators or people with huge followings or people that necessarily lived in LA because I wasn't at that point. Again, connecting and collaborating with people who were in that similar tier of where I was at. And then as I started to continue to grow and continue to outgrow each of those tiers, eventually I got to the point where it's like, well, people that I need to be and should be collaborating and connecting with aren't here anymore because I outpaced that. And so to continue to sustain that growth, I decided to move out to LA and move out to California. And not only was it my first time out of New Hampshire, 3,000 miles away, literally the farthest I could have gone, northeast to southwest, right? But it was also my first apartment on my own, my first place. I was still technically based out of my parents' house. I graduated from college last year. Literally did our NGH class the day that I graduated.
That's right.
In the morning and that night came and started the class. So I didn't waste any time going into it, but literally the point where I graduated college last year, and now this year I'm performing at colleges around the country. Didn't take too long, but as I continued to grow and take it to the next level, I eventually got to the point where I said, you know what, next level means going to a place where I'm in better proximity for what I want to accomplish and achieve. So for you, that might not necessarily, for somebody watching this, might not necessarily mean moving across the country. Maybe it might mean hanging out with people you want to collab more, going to networking events, or even being in certain social media groups or spaces that you're in proximity to people you want to connect with. Join Facebook groups with other creators. Start watching videos or exposing yourself to other people's content that you want to either emulate or model or connect or collab with. Be in proximity. With 2019 and social media, with a cell phone in your pocket, you can literally create the proximity, like calling somebody, texting somebody, emailing somebody, or even just, like I said, joining a Facebook group, being more on social media. So it doesn't always have to be literal physical proximity, but just putting yourself in a position to set yourself up for the success that you want to achieve will help you get there faster.
It's awesome. Zach, talk to us about, we're coming right now as we're recording this, we're coming toward the end of the year. We're in December right now. We're in the middle of December. People are wrapping up their years and they're looking toward 2020. What are you thinking about right now in terms of growing your business and doing more in 2020? What's your sort of vision and your sort of strategic outlook like right now?
Honestly, I mean, I know we're coming up on the beginning of the new year and even new decade, which is exciting. But for me, like my focus is always like what's in front of me. Like I still don't even necessarily what I'm doing at the end of the week, let alone next month or next year, right? I'm just focused on right now. What am I doing today? What am I doing tomorrow, right? How can I set myself up for where I'm at currently? And it's just been evolving and going with that. And so I know I'll still have more collabs and things that I'll be doing, continuing to grow on TikTok and YouTube, putting out content. As spring starts up, I'll start doing more shows. I mean, this time of year, as you know, stage shows tend to be pretty null with the holidays and finals and sort of end of the semester wrapping up. But come late January, I'll be back on the road again and traveling more, and just look forward to seeing what doors will continue to be opened up through growth that I've been doing on social media, and hopefully getting my book published soon. I wrote a book as I was on tour this fall and working on getting that published and out there to the world, continue to put out more content, and we'll see where it grows and how well it does. I'm at the point where all it takes is just one big connection or one big opportunity or one TV show or one person, celebrity sharing my stuff or whatever it is to really get to an even bigger, higher level. And that could happen tomorrow. It could happen next month. It could happen in a few months. But I'm not worried about when it happens. My job is just continue to stay on the grind, continue to hustle, continue to keep putting in the work and focus on what's in front of me now, focusing on where I'm at currently, taking it a day at a time. And just as it comes and as it happens, we'll see where it goes from there. But I don't like to put expectations on myself of like, this needs to happen next month or next year, or this is what my life needs to look like. I say, well, I'm going to focus on what I need to do now. I create the expectation for the day, one day at a time. And then, hey, look, I've created 30-day expectations instead of a month-long expectation. And one, what that allows me to do is, again, stay focused. But then two, it allows me to be able to actually accomplish more. Because sometimes when we can create a month-long goal, we might be like, oh, well, that's a lot to do in a month. If I look back on everything I've done in the past month, and I said a month ago, I'm going to do all that in a month, I would have been like, no way you get all that done in a month. But because I focus on here's what I can do today, do as much as I can today. And then the next day, and then the next day. And then looking back a month later, I'm like, what the heck? I just went up 25,000 subscribers on YouTube in the past month and did all these huge major collabs and wrote a book and went on tour and did all this stuff and moved to California, right? All these things that happened. It's like, oh my goodness. But because I'm just focused on what's in front of me, then that has been what's allowed me to go so fast and continue to grow and be so successful. And I know it's not probably the answer you're looking for. It's probably as far as a big.
Oh, it's cool. It's cool.
Vision, but for me, that's what's worked. And that's my advice for people listening is focus on the right now, the right here, what's in front of you, and keep doing that every single day.
That's awesome. All right. Hey, we're going to wrap it up. That's great, man. That's great. So if people want to learn more about you or they want to connect with you, what are good ways for them to do that?
Well, if you go to paulramsey.com and just click on his website, the tab of his best students, and I should
My best students. I should have a best student tab. That's a good idea.
Employee of the Month award goes to. Not that I'm an employee, but you know what I mean. So, but yeah, if you go, I'm Zach Pincince on all social media. It's a nice thing about having an uncommon last name is that my name was not taken on any of the platforms. So you go to ZachPincince.com, Zach Pincince on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube, all the stuff. Just Zach Pincince, ZachPincince. And a final plug that I'll make for people that are listening or watching is I actually just released and dropped some cool hypnosis merch recently this past weekend, which is exciting. So my first line of hypnosis brand stuff. So if you want to cop a cool hypnosis related t-shirt, I released one that says, you've been hypnotized to read this shirt, which is kind of a fun, clever, cool concept, I think, anyways. So if you want to do some more street work or get out there and be able to share your status as a hypnotist or have something fun to wear when you make content, I'm going to shamelessly plug my own stuff. You can check out hypnosismerch.com. I'm going to probably link to my socials as well, but hypnosismerch.com is where that is. But yeah, Zach Pincince, that's where you can find me.
Cool. All right, buddy. Thank you so much. Hey, you guys, if you haven't followed Zach on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube, you really, really should. If you're inspired by what he's talked about and you want to kind of, even at some level of scale, do what he's done, which would be very wise to do. Finding a helpful model is always a good part of that. And, modeling yourself after what Zach has done would be really, really smart. And I will tell you, Zach knows I'm not saying this as a slight. Most of Zach's content is not by what most people would use the word. Most of Zach's content is not special. The quality is quite good. His techniques are quite good. But when people tend to think about like viral, like Zach's not doing stuff that like every week that is like, oh my gosh, I've never seen. Zach is just doing what he loves very well over and over and over again. And that's why part of why I wanted to talk with him is I think he's such a good example of like, all of you can do that. That's the point I'm trying to make. I'm not trying to say this, that Zach does it. Zach does it very well, but Zach's doing really solid standard stuff a lot of the time that we all can do. And so you can do this like Zach. And so go watch how he frames his videos, how he sets them up, sort of the stylistic approach. You can learn from that stuff. But what I'm saying is the hypnosis that Zach is doing is the hypnosis that so many of us do, the hypnotism that lots of us are familiar with. He's just sharing it with the world because he loves it. And more of us need to do that. So follow Zach, watch his stuff, learn from how he approaches it, and then go out and do your version of that. And I think you'll get results that are quite good. And again, it'd be really wise to watch how he does it as a way of modeling. So follow him on his platforms and leave him some comments and say hi. And if you see him at a convention or something like that, go up and tell him that you like his stuff and you've seen his stuff. And that's always fun, I'm sure. It's always cool for me when people do that to me. So I'm sure Zach likes it too. So Zach, thank you so much, buddy. We'll catch up more soon. Okay.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks for having me on.
All right.
All right. Bye.